Ready.
Wonderful. Welcome to the Stone Encompass Center. My wife, Julie Kernan, and I are excited to have all of you visit with us virtually. We're standing outside on the main road. We will not be here for very long, so please apologize. For going by. Did want to show everyone this plaque and about this presentation. We're now going to.
So are we live yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the Stone Encompass Center. We're excited to have you here tonight. I know that we are going to be working long distance with a lot of technology. If for any reason we cut out and are unable to continue, we have a backup plan. So if you lose us, please be patient and we will log back on using other means. We're going to attempt this tonight for the first time from 6,000 miles away. There may also be some delays with regards to me speaking and answering. I will try to go and speak as slowly as I can so that everyone can hopefully hear this wonderful presentation. You are standing just inside the main gate of the Stone Encompass Center. The center encompasses 2,200 acres. You're going to get a chance to see much of that this evening, and we will talk about what we have built over the last 6 years, as well as what we're looking forwards to building in the future for faculty, students, and lots of programs that we hope to develop to better the world and better society. We're now going to step inside to the inner part of the center and begin our official presentation there. The world famous Stolat, who some of the faculty know, and he's really excited to have you come back. Lauren is going to be helping me with this presentation. She's going to be leading some of the questions, and the faculty know I tend to go off on little tangents with my discussions. So she's going to really help me tonight to stay on task. I will also tell everyone that we have had a wonderful week here, but the team has been going about 20 to 21 hours a day, putting together the wonderful presentations for all of you. So we're a little brain dead tonight. So please bear with me if I stumble over some of my words, because we're all sort of working on fumes at this point. But we will do the best we can to answer questions. Lauren, it's nice to have you here.
It's great to be here. First things first, can you tell us about why the Stone Encompass Center creates unique programs and opportunities for students and faculty?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've developed over the last 10 years is this idea of utilizing students and faculty to help branch out and connect people together. Those programs that we've developed are incredibly diverse. One really a wonderful thing about the Stone Encompass Center is that we have the ability to create any program. We can do programming in everything from anthropology and archaeology, all the way up to nursing programs, occupational therapy, business, marketing, finance. And we're able to do this not only by utilizing this wonderful center, but also by utilizing our contacts that we've been able to deepen in Bulgaria.
Now, do you want to show us kind of an in-depth look of things in front of the house and artifacts here?
Absolutely. So we're actually standing in front of the main house of the Stone Encompass Center. This center was actually a private home. It was the largest development and the largest farm in Bulgaria all the way up until about 1870. It was privately owned, and actually, this is the original owner of this homestead. This is a picture taken in approximately 1875, or representation of a picture. And this was hanging on the wall of this destroyed house when we first bought the center. You can pan up and pan out and see that the entire house has been rebuilt. One of the things that we've attempted to do with the house and with this entire property is recreate the buildings in traditional Bulgarian style using traditional building methods. We really wanted to preserve a lot of those techniques and actually bring some of those techniques back. This main house has 9 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. On the first floor, we call this a Bulgarian mehana. Mehana is the word for meeting place or cafe. The entire first floor is sort of like a greeting place where we have food, dinners, breakfasts, and really a way for people to congregate and meet each other. When we first purchased the home, the second and third floor were non-existent. They were actually destroyed. We put a lot of effort into rebuilding it with the traditional style and also using pictures that we had of what the original home looked like. If you pan around, we actually have all of these other buildings that have also been rebuilt using the traditional style, as well as all of the different walls and foundations. Also in the distance, you will see part of the 2,200 acres, including the mountain. Stone Encompass purchased the entire property, including the mountain, so that we could preserve that natural biosphere. And what we're attempting to do right now is create this mini biosphere where it's completely protected and we actually control what happens in that large area, and really leave it for the flora and the fauna of this area, including some endemic species, which we will talk about later. One of the other exciting things that we have here at the Stone Encompass Center is that when the family left the property, all the way back in 1878, with the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the family abandoned the property and only came back every other generation through the 1920s. They still owned the property, but nobody lived here. What that meant was that all of the artifacts from the family and all of their heirlooms were left in this facility all the way up until when we bought it in 2016, sorry. In 2016, we purchased the initial property. That property was the inner quad that you're going to see more of tonight. We then went to the municipality and we were able to get all of the original mapping. That mapping showed the original homestead in all 2,200 acres that the family had once owned. That acreage had been slowly sold off. We actually repurchased all of that property, bringing the entire homestead back. But what we found as we went through all of these old buildings were original pieces left behind by the family. All of these original pieces are still here. Farming equipment, tilling equipment, shearing equipment, including pieces like this. I showed this to Teresa earlier and asked her what she thought it was. And you can actually ask your students when later. And I'd love to know what they think this is. And then we can talk about maybe what they did with this type of equipment. The family utilized this acreage to raise sheep. That was one of the largest parts of the business for the family. And they've also left behind lots of original materials and tools that they used for sheep shearing. These are actually sheep shearers. And these are from the late 1800s, as well as this here. And I'm also curious to talk more about that later. All of these artifacts are found throughout the entire place. Currently, right now, we have rebuilt, I have to actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings. There are another 24 buildings on our property that have not been rebuilt yet. So this is definitely a project that is going to go way beyond Julie and myself and the current team. And many, many years from now, we hope to expand out and still work with those buildings on rebuilding them in the traditional style.
So how do you rebuild and hold true to traditional style and preservation?
It's a great question. It's very difficult. Obviously, we want to make the amenities modern enough so that students and faculty can enjoy them. Everything inside the house is new. The bathrooms are new, the bedrooms are new. Everything is modern and has all the amenities that you would need. We actually have 4 completed houses now, and we'll talk more about the capacity of the Stone and Compass Center. All of those houses have modern amenities in them. However, the construction of those houses, depending on when the original house was built, is exactly the same as the construction would have been when it was built. This main house, which was built in the late 1860s, is the traditional style. The barns that we will go into today also use traditional style to preserve what it should have been like. We even, when we get into the barn, we'll talk about some special preservation that's going on with some of those, some of the flooring that we actually did and utilized new flooring over old flooring to protect the old flooring. And we'll talk more about that when we go inside. One of the other things that we're doing here is we're utilizing the inner space for meeting places. It looks here in this area where we're inside, we've got these trees, these open areas. We've got areas where people sit, have bonfires at night, stargaze, do lectures outside. We even do movie nights, things like that. We also have all the amenities that you would want in an away place, like the pool and the volleyball courts and things like that. But again, we really tried to incorporate what students and faculty need, modern amenities, and traditional building styles. We're now going to go to the main barn. This is a really exciting building, and I hope you enjoy it.
One moment, we're gonna pause for just one moment.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. A little technological issue. Welcome back to the Stone and Compass Center. As you can see, we're now entering the larger area and the areas where students congregate during the evenings after they've gone out into the field and worked in their different disciplines during the day. We have the pool, we have all of these open areas. You can see some of the other houses in the distance, as well as this massive barn here, which is 300 meters in length, and top to bottom, 300 meters squared of room. This is where we do actually going to get to go up inside today, and we're going to see this. This also gives you a better idea of the size of Stone and Compass. All of the land that you see in the distance is ours. All of this land is actually utilized by different programming. We are currently working with different entities on building camps in the wilderness for camping. Across the street, we also own all of the land across the street. Those are our agricultural fields. We are now in the process of working on new agricultural programming. We're going to be doing lavender, sunflowers, strawberries, and we're going to be utilizing all that land and space for agriculture. The other thing that's really exciting about Stone and Compass and the center is that we have started a bee project and a bee program. What's super exciting about this is that this entire project was started by Cal State Dominguez Hills students. We were here a few years ago and we were talking about honey, and a few students should actually start a honey business. And that's exactly what we did. You're going to get a chance to see that in action tonight. If you look in the distance behind the green screens, that is our honey farm. Behind that, there are actually 500 working hives. We are producing honey at a pretty rapid rate. That honey is actually going back to the United States to be sold. And we are working on getting that honey sold at the Cal State Dominguez Hills bookstore. One of the ideas that we had was, wouldn't it be great if a student was able to come here, work on a project, go back to school at Dominguez Hills, walk into the bookstore and see a jar of jelly or a jar of jam or a jar of honey that they actually helped to make or produce. I think that's pretty cool. And if I was a student, I would definitely think that that was something pretty special. We're going to head up into the barn. And then we're going to go over and we're going to actually take a quick look at the honey after. I don't know if you can hear that barking. Welcome to the Stone and Compass barn. This barn was rebuilt in the traditional 19th century style. I'm going to close this door because there's a dog barking. One of the things that you see here in Bulgaria is there are a lot of feral dogs. And I actually own one now. It's back in Massachusetts. When we showed up a week ago, there was a new dog that had showed up at the Stone and Compass Center. Teresa, who you met tonight, has fallen in love with that dog. And that dog is also going to be going back to California to live in California. But right now it's very upset because we had to tie it up to do this presentation. Welcome to the Stone and Compass barn. This barn is traditional, like I said before. And in fact, the entire barn underneath has been preserved in its original state. Underneath this new flooring, there's actually a traditional mud floor. What they did was they created mud and straw, and that was the basis of the flooring underneath. Instead of pulling that out and throwing it away, we wanted to preserve that entire space. So that space is underneath this, and we just put the new floor over it. You'll also notice that every piece of wood has been hand cut. All of this is traditionally hand cut. All of this is put together with wooden pegs in the traditional style, which you can see up here. And then metal pegs have been added in for extra support. This right here is the traditional wooden peg style. And they actually drill the hole and then put the peg down through, and it's really sturdy as using nails. In the 18th century, 19th century, they started using some hooks to actually hook up the wood, and those were made with metal, and you'll see some of those around as well. This room has actually hosted many, many different functions. And we've done everything from yoga retreats to health and wellness centers to actually hosting peace forums, global peace forums, right in this room. I know it's kind of hard to imagine, but we actually had 100 delegates in this barn dealing with some of the most challenging topics facing the globe today. They came from all over the world, and it was an incredible forum, which I'll talk a little bit more about in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm just asking kind of about FCT or game or anything.
Great.
Yeah.
So thank you. I didn't realize we were at that point. So again, programming at the Stone Encompass Center is really diverse. We have, as we said before, faculty programming that we've developed. Obviously, Dominguez Hills has been with us the longest, since that's my alma mater. And that's where I got my bachelor's degree, with some of your faculty that are here tonight. And so we've gone way back and developed that programming with them. From there, we've branched out across the globe and also across the United States. We're working with multiple universities on different programming. And that programming is incredibly diverse. We also are working with peace and negotiation work, with sustainability. And we created something and came into something a few years ago with a partner of ours, Julie and myself, Padraig O'Malley. Padraig O'Malley was one of the brokers for the IRA peace deal back in the 1980s. Padraig created this idea called FCT, the Forum for Cities in Transition. This idea was based loosely on Alcoholics Anonymous. And the idea was, could people who have gone through war, just like people who have gone through alcoholism, understand each other and what they've gone through, even though they were from different cultures or different places? And if we brought those people together who had gone through war and were coming out of war, those cities in transition, could we start to develop ideas to build tangible projects with tangible outcomes? That forum was hosted right here. And we had people from everywhere, from Lebanon to Israel to Palestine, including 2 of the 4 boys from Raqqa, Syria, who were 2 of the 4 gentlemen who actually stole cell phones and were able to get the word out about what was originally happening in Syria right back at the beginning of the Syrian refugee crisis. So all of that actually happened here at Stone Encompass. And we're really proud to be able to have had that happen. The other thing that we created out of that was something called GAME, the Global Alliance for Marginalized Youth and Equity. One of the themes behind Stone Encompass is youth. Everything we do has a youth component, whether it's faculty-run, led youth initiatives, our internship program, some of the projects that we deal with, this free summer camps that we've developed to bring Bulgarian. All of those programs have this youth component to it, and we're really proud to be able to offer up this entire center for those programs. Everything is developed over time, and it continues to grow and grow and grow as the center grows and grows and grows.
So obviously, going off of the programs, what parts of Bulgaria do these programs go into?
That's a great question. So the way the program works in Bulgaria, which is really exciting for students and faculty, is we built this so that it would feel like you're home away from home, where you would get on a plane and go to a foreign country, but you would sort of base yourself here. And you would do your work throughout the day, and then you'd all get to come back here and unwind and find out what other disciplines we're doing. One of the things that we do is we take students across Bulgaria to see the breadth and depth of the history that's here. We go to places like Sofia, the capital city, which is actually on top of ancient Serdica, which is this Roman city, which in the 3rd century AD was one of the most important Roman centers. We go to Plovdiv, which is another ancient Roman city. Some of our programs, like Cal State Dominguez Hill's Occupational Therapy program, actually go all the way to the Black Sea. And we'll talk a little bit about those programs as well, a little bit more later in depth.
What is the history of the area of Bulgaria we are in?
It's a great question. So we're in the center of Bulgaria, which was actually considered sort of the great Bulgarian kingdom of the late 11th to 13th century AD. This whole area was a real stronghold for the Bulgarians. The Ottomans came in and took over, and actually there were 500 years of rule with the Ottomans up until 1878 when Bulgaria gained its independence. Then with democracy, villages sprung up, and those villages lasted all the way up until World War II and beyond. And then communism took over. And unfortunately, with the fall of communism, the villages started to actually die. Most of the young people moved to the cities. And what you ended up with now in this area are all these villages that once held lots and lots of people, but those people are now no longer here. Our village that we built in Stolat in 1987 had 1,830 residents. As of today, it has 340. So you can see that it's a massive emigration to the cities and out of the villages. What was left behind was the infrastructure. So when you go through these villages in central Bulgaria, you're going to see a lot of demolished and old structures that are still there with nobody living in them.
Going back to kind of the preservation and beekeeping stuff, what is being done here to help the environment and create it more sustainable?
I'm glad you asked that. It's really about the programming that we're developing, programming with Cal State Dominguez Hills and other universities. And again, we're able to create any type of programming because of the size and breadth of our connections and the size and breadth of Stone Encompass. So as we develop new programs, we're always looking for ways to be sustainable and use the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. I apologize for the dog if you can hear it in the distance. We've named it Appa, and Appa is getting very upset that it's been tied up. So we'll let Appa go in a little bit, but hopefully you can all still hear me fine. So with regards to the programming, again, what we do is we're looking at how do we utilize the space for the benefit of others, multi-generational down the line, and how do we create positive environmental impact? We do that through programs in agriculture, the beekeeping, sustainability, preservation of land, because the more land we own and leave untouched, the better the environment will be for the flora and fauna that are supposed to be here. One of those things that we found is we're in this really unique area with regards to nature. There are many, many endemic species, that's species that are only found here, that are in this valley that we own. One of those species is called an Apriltsi rose. The village of Apriltsi is right on the other side of the mountain. And between Apriltsi and Sevlievo, which is just up here, which is only about a 20-mile swath, there is a rose that grows on our hillsides that grows nowhere else in the world. So we're gonna take a quick pause. So let's pause for a second. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We're now back at the Stone and Compass Center and really excited to have you back here. And so as far as the programming goes, like I said before, we're building all of these different programs so that we can develop sustainability for future generations.
And then what's the future of the center looking for like?
I'm glad you asked that. The idea is to continue expanding our programming and expanding the center through that programming. What the center is a living, breathing laboratory. We want students and faculty to come and develop programming that utilizes the space and for the betterment of the future through their programming. So as we come up with new ideas, like the Honey Project, we will continue to expand and utilize this space so that students can learn, faculty can teach, we can create tangible outcomes, and those outcomes can better all of society, and use this as a microcosm or an example of how things can help in different parts of the world. We also are working on a lot of the challenges that Bulgaria currently faces. One of those challenges is, how do we function and allow anybody access to the programs that we do, especially students with disabilities? There are challenges in Bulgaria in that a lot of individuals that have disabilities, there are no resources for them in Bulgaria. Bulgaria lags when it comes to that. The Stone and Compass Center, when we rebuilt it, we are now starting to look at access and how do all individuals be able to gain this access. We're working and going to start working more with a professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills, who is on this Zoom tonight, and looking at ways that her students can help us with ideas on how to better serve that population.
Well, and then there's a building here called the Ghost House. Why is it called that?
Yes, so I'm now going to show you around a little bit, and we're going to look at some different parts of the Stone and Compass Center, including the barn house and the ghost house and some other things like that. We're first going to come out here, and you can see the size of this structure. It really is a place that you can do all kinds of different things. In fact, the occupational therapy program that comes here, they actually do movie nights in here, actually enjoy themselves and have movie nights in like way of kind of coming together and enjoying the space. Out here, it extends out to the outer buildings. This is where we do yoga. We have yoga retreats and health and wellness centers. It also offers you up an incredible view of the entire center. And so all of this, again, is utilized space through the fields and also down into the other buildings that we haven't been able to basically rebuild. It's a long-term process. The other thing that the center offers is that we currently have 37 different fruiting trees and plants, all of them edible. So we are now in the process of building out a jam and jelly business, and those jams and jellies will be produced by locals. And that's another thing with Stone and Compass. We only employ local Bulgarians who live in the area, and they will be helping us to produce our jams and jellies, as well as our beekeepers. And we'll be selling this back in the United States to raise funds. And those funds will also be able to go to help projects like some of the projects that we're building around the world. And that's something that Stone and Compass is also involved in. So are we ready to take a walk and see more of the Stone and Compass Center? welcome back outside. We're going to kind of walk down this way, and I'm going to take you over and show you part of the bee farm, as well as some of the other structures. This structure over here was also an abandoned, destroyed house that we have rebuilt, and it's called the Ghost House. The reason why it's called the Ghost House is because when we first started bringing students here, it was completely destroyed, and so they told ghost stories. And so ghost stories around the bonfire, the first week that we had students here many years ago, and they told stories and made up stories about the people who used to live in that house. And that's why it's called the Ghost House. Down here, over here, is called the Barn House. The Barn House was built a couple of years ago. It was a destroyed barn, hence the Barn House. That also is brand new inside. It has all of the amenities, the bathrooms, the bedrooms. It's got a really nice view of the mountains out of the back. And it's a really beautiful building. If you get to come here and stay, it's a great place to sleep. When do I talk about, and hello, I'm still here. When do we start talking about some of the history behind some of the stories? Like the
Oh yeah,
Ottomans?
the Roman tomb and the Ottoman gold ward.
Wonderful. So I'm going to stop right here because I have a couple of great stories to tell you. As you can see out here, the land that we own is extensive. It goes all the way up the hill into the mountains. We have fields up there. We actually allow the locals to still utilize the fields, but the forests are kept sort of untouched. Up on top of the hill, if you can see it in the distance, there's one big tree. What we ended up finding was an actual Roman tomb. That tomb is up there and has been excavated, although we do believe that there's are more tombs in that direct area. And we've been talking for the last few years about putting together an archaeological excavation that can go back up there. And we were going to send you up there, and maybe next week, students will get a chance to see it. But unfortunately, we've been having torrential rains while we've been here. So the road to get up, the dirt road to get up to the tombs, is sort of impassable at the moment. And that's why we're just looking at it from the distance today. One of the other amazing legends about this area is the Ottoman gold hoard. And this is actually, they call it a legend, but there may be some truth to this. When the Ottomans were retreating during the battle for Bulgarian independence, the Ottomans had collected lots and lots of Bulgarian gold from people that they subjugated. And the Ottomans felt like they were not going to lose the war. They may just lose a few battles. So as they retreated, they would dig and place this gold in different parts of the country. That gold has been found. We have found many Ottoman treasures through archaeological excavations. But the largest story of the largest Ottoman gold hoard supposedly was buried in this valley. So maybe someday, if we start archaeological excavations, we will find that gold hoard. When we were digging the hole for the pool, the people who were working with us to dig that hole, they would talk about it every day because it is a local legend here throughout these villages that somewhere on the property that gold is hidden. And it's kind of exciting to sort of think about. We're going to head over here. You're going to walk past some of the working area of the bees, and we're going to go take a quick peek into the beehives. Welcome to the working beehives. This is one small section of our bee farm. You can see some of our employees. That's Kiro and Chris over in the distance. It is now almost 8 o'clock at night. You can see how much work goes into beekeeping. They started early this morning and they're still going at it. This is a really important time of the year for bees. It's when they're their most active and they're producing the most honey. So they'll go until dark and then rest and then get up tomorrow morning and they'll just keep working to get our honey to the United States to all of you. So I want to head back this way. And I'd like to start to conclude this portion, this first portion of our sort of celebration of the Stone Encompass Center. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We are going to take about a quick 5-minute break of tonight. I know that there are students and faculty members who are doing a virtual study abroad right now with us. And so we're going to conclude tonight with the introduction to the Stone Encompass Center, to some of the things that you are able to see and do when you're here. And I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we are going to come back and we will start the academic portion of this event. Thank you very much.
Just I messaged it in chat, but if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in chat and then we'll get to it later during this next portion.
Wonderful.